Hello, welcome back to our channel. My name is Shay. I'm a full-time reseller on Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, and maybe kind of Depop. Working on it.
You're working on Depop. My name is Tyler. I'm a part-time seller on eBay, Mercari, and Poshmark.
In today's video, we are going to be talking about the Posh quarterly earnings call. This happened about a little over a week ago.
It's been a little bit of a time.
Yep. Yeah, and people have been talking to me in my DMs, asking me my opinions on it. So we wanted to kind of gather our thoughts before we came on camera. But yeah, so today we're gonna go through that. Before we get into it, you do have a t-shirt, kind of?
I do have a related t-shirt, although not related. It's a vintage AT&T annual shareholders meeting t-shirt.
Yeah, so he actually grabbed that from our inventory. He thought it would be interesting to do that since this call is primarily for shareholders of Poshmark. So he thought,
it's close enough.
Let's theme it up. Okay. Okay, so you want to move straight into this?
Yeah.
So we have a few categories that we're going to cover just to give you an overview to see if you want to stay. We're going to be talking about some positives that they discussed on the call. We're going to be talking about their core sales category. We're going to be talking about their breakdown of casual sellers, pro sellers, and enterprise sellers. We're going to be talking about what they said on the call about the algorithm, their shift in marketing, and the trends that they are implementing.
Yep. So
if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you stay for this. Make sure you leave us a comment down below and let us know all your thoughts. We'd love to have a conversation going down there. Just make sure to keep it civil. Give it a like and share this with anybody you think would find it interesting.
All right. So starting with the positives.
Yeah, so we're going to start with the positives, right?
Yeah.
So they, on this call, actually let us know some really good information as sellers. So they gave us some trends and brands that they noticed were doing well in Q4. So keep in mind it is Q4, so things change rapidly in the resale market, but wanted to share a few of those with you. So the first one they mentioned was an accessory brand called Van Cleef & Arpels, and they said they saw an 890% increase in Q4. I've never heard of this.
I'd never heard of this brand either. It looks to be primarily a jewelry brand, from what we can see, and good resale value. Average around
insane retail value.
Insane retail value. We saw one looking up for listed of $80,000. I don't know who's going to pay that. But don't get your hopes up that high. Resale looks to be anywhere averaging from around $150 to $300.
Yeah. Another accessory brand, this one seems to be primarily bags, was Low. Another one I haven't heard of if you can't tell. This had a 385% increase.
So it does seem like they are bragging a little bit in terms of these are brands that are doing very well. Luxury items have gone up for us.
Yeah, so are they picking and choosing that number? We don't know.
They definitely are cherry picking the top two.
Yeah, you think so?
Oh, absolutely. I actually would very much like them to compile a list of this information or just a breakdown that they send out as either an email that you opt into or just a section of the website where it shows you the most current trend information, because that information to me has a lot of value.
Yeah, now they do send out emails from time to time, and they do have different things on the app that will show up that gives us, like little tidbits here and there, but there's never anything comprehensive, and clearly they have the numbers. They also did go into trends that they were noticing. So they saw suits and blazers were up by 215%, which does make sense because COVID ending, people going back into the office.
Yep. Needing to get back into that professional wardrobe.
Absolutely.
After sweatpants and t-shirts for years.
Yeah, and if you guys didn't catch our last video, we did talk about dark academia and how that is a really hot trend right now, and blazers absolutely play into that. So I'm sure that that is helping as well. Another trend that they noticed an increase was one-shoulder dresses, which they saw a 92% increase, which I kind of need to go through and see what my one-shoulder dresses are doing, because I kind of stopped paying attention to them.
I don't even know if you have any one-shoulder dresses. You probably have a few.
I probably have a few, so I'm gonna do a little scroll. They did mention outerwear and winterwear, but since we're out of Q4, I didn't think that was as relevant for this video, but we're gonna leave the link to the call in the comments below if you want to check out the things that we don't cover. So another trend they noticed was vintage is up by 42%. So I'm curious if, with the emergence of Depop and the pull for Depop customers that they are clearly doing, if that may have some kind of impact on that.
Well, I think it's that. I think it's the change in the search. So you're looking for more stylistic or trend than buying or finding a specific brand, because that's harder to do at the moment.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse, it seems they tweaked a few things, and And if you find the aesthetic you like, you're really focusing on that more than the brand at the moment.
So that's the positive. The rest is not all negative per se, but there's nothing else that I found was a note to the seller that something great was going to be happening or useful insight, nothing like that. Okay, so let's move on to category 2, which was core sales. So we've mentioned on this channel a few times in our reseller recaps mostly, that Poshmark has seemed to move away from their core, which to us was to be the premium fashion destination.
Clothing, bags, shoes, anything garment related, they're the place to go. You're going to get, generally speaking, you're going to get a better price. The shipping for shoes and bags is very competitive.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that when Poshmark came out and I first used it, that's what I thought of it as, was the place to go for clothes. I mean, eBay was the place to go for everything else, but Poshmark was for clothes, and they're seeming to dilute that, and they kind of admitted that in this call. So they said that the core sales for their platform is clothing at 93% of their sales, and 7% of their sales is those expansion categories that they've added on, so electronics,
DVDs,
pets,
home, and whatever other categories that they have.
All of that, yeah. So both Manish and the CFO was talking on this call, and Manish seemed very excited about the expanding categories. He mentioned that it is the fastest growing category, which, I mean, at 7%.
Well, it has to be because it's the new thing that people are trying out.
So he seems really excited about it and kind of like excited about where it's going to go. The CFO did actually mention the word diluting. And when he talked about the expansion categories, he mentioned that they are working on partnerships with people like Suede One to kind of really hammer home those core categories. Suede One obviously is for shoe authentication. So he really was talking about how they know that they're diluting, but they are working on it and trying to recenter.
It does seem like there's a little bit of conflicting principles, because on the one hand, the electronics do have the higher average sale price, which they certainly are keeping in mind, but they don't want to lose focus on what they...
Now, this isn't one of our categories, but since we were talking about price point, I just wanted to throw this in there. They did mention that their focus is on that premium price point now, and they're not as focused on things that are outside of that premium price point, which I think is contradictory to how they advertise. They do a lot of the advertising of, you can get this great designer item for half the price or whatever the numbers are.
Half the price. You can get it for $20.
Yeah,
it retails for $6,000. That's not happening.
They give a lot of crazy numbers, which definitely impacts us sellers and makes us feel obligated to lower our prices. They also do a lot of promotions where they're pushing for us to do closet clear out, make a deal days, all of these things that encourages the seller to lower that price. So it's kind of a conflicting thing where they're saying they really want to up that price point, but also they're asking us to lower that price point. So I think they kind of have to sort that out. What do you want? Higher price point or lower price point? Get it together there, but...
And figure it out and get back to us.
Yeah. One message, please. Okay, so moving on to the seller categories. So I know people have been talking about this, and this is, I don't know how I feel. So they've grouped their sellers into 3 categories.
Yes.
So it's the casual seller, the pro seller, and the enterprise seller. And how they are defined is solely by how much you have sold in a year. So if you've sold under $10,000 in sales on their platform, they consider you a casual seller. If you sold more than $10,000, they consider you a pro seller. And if you're a brand, you're an enterprise seller. Yeah,
if you are an actual company that makes clothing, then you are exempted from the categories, basically, in your enterprise.
Yeah. And again, they gave conflicting information. They contradicted themselves. Yeah. But essentially, what they said was the most amount of their sales comes from the casual seller, which makes sense with what they did with the algorithm, makes us kind of be like, okay, we get it. You make money from casual sellers. That's why you're focusing on them.
Keeping it simple, you're trying to promote that and entice more people to try the platform and have luck with the platform when they first try, so they stay around.
Right.
And I think that their plan really is to get those casual sellers into the system, and then hopefully transitioning more and more of them into the pro sellers, because that's where, if you can have more people making more money, that's just good for everybody.
Well, you don't just think that, they said that.
Yeah, well, so they definitely said that.
They said that their goal is to transition more casual sellers into pro sellers, and they said they're doing that by offering more tools. So they referenced the Closet Insights that we received. They mentioned the bulk upload that, I mean, does anyone use that?
I don't know. I would like to know where their R&D department and their analytics team came up with those answers. Did they talk to people? Did they talk to anyone in the community? Because
this isn't what we asked for. I mean,
I'm not expecting a phone call from Poshmark, but it would be nice to know that they at least had a focus group of established high dollar amount resellers and going over what they're asking for.
Yeah, now granted, we don't know. Maybe they do, and we just don't know about it. But it seemed a little strange that the things that they were mentioning were things that we know the community doesn't use, like the bulk upload. They said it had a high adoption rate of pro sellers at 30%. Anyway, they did also mention while talking about this that enterprise sellers do get the best tools. So they get access to analytics that Poshmark has. They get
the back end trends and reporting information that is just not being publicized. And I think that's probably because there's a little bit of a quid pro quo where they're going to be paying a premium for all of that extra, and they're just going to keep that behind a paywall. Yeah,
and they've also got, apparently their CRM systems are integrated somehow. So, and we know if we looked at some of the enterprise brands like, I don't know, Levi that we've looked at, that they clearly have something to do with not sharing or auto sharing. I don't know what's going on there, but we'll talk about that in a future video. But anyways, the point is that they do recognize sellers in a different light, and it doesn't seem like pro sellers are their focus, and take that how you want. Okay, number 4, the algorithm. Now, most of you guys are here from our algorithm video, so welcome.
We've done several of those videos at this point, and thank you all for watching them.
They did confirm that the new algorithm was implemented. They got feedback from the community, and the community said, stop this, we hate it.
The feedback was, what the hell are you doing? Are you out of your minds?
They rolled it back, and then they maybe made iterations. They didn't say that part, but then they put it back out at 100% live.
They just sent it out and hoped no one would notice.
Yes,
we noticed.
They did confirm that it's there. Basically what they said about it was a whole lot of nothing. But they said that they still feel sharing is important. They want that to be a lifeblood of their platform, but that they are also trying to integrate optimization and relevancy into the search.
They said on the call that they were having promising results so far with the changes.
With rollout 1 and 2. 1 and 2, not just 2, 1 and 2. So
see, I'm questioning whether or not that is entirely accurate. I think there are ways to game the system a little bit. So as soon as you figure it out, I think you can have better sales and higher price sales. And
we don't know what promising results mean. They did mention multiple times during this call that they do expect a soft Q1. And they were called on that a few times, and they backed away and wouldn't kind of give an answer or reason why.
Promising results, we didn't burn it to the ground. We didn't just destroy everything that we've built.
I mean, I don't think it's that dramatic, but we don't know. And really, unless they really show us data explaining what positive results they saw, I don't know. I think, again, as I've said a million times, I think they should have done this in a test environment, and I think they should have given us training first. But
just a heads up would be nice. Like,
right.
Just a, hey, we're fixing this.
Yeah, but without doing it sneakily. However, I do think it's learning. I think that it's changing and adapting, and I think we have to kind of just stay on top of it. I'm not excited about it, but
the writing is on the wall. This is definitely the way they want to go. They've changed the algorithm, and they're doing a lot of things to attract the casual sellers.
We'll see how it goes. We will keep tracking it, and if we hear updates, we will let you know. But yeah, that's what they said. Number 5, I added this in here mostly because I think it's funny. But they mentioned that they're doing a marketing shift, and they've noticed an improvement. So somebody asked them what that meant, and they said that they have switched to TV and micro and macro influencers. They specifically mentioned the K-pop band BTS. I mean, okay, I get it. I get it that K-pop is huge right now. It is like the biggest thing in, I think, the world, so I get it. A little confusing as to why Poshmark went in that direction.
Well, who are these micro and macro influencers? Because
that was the next thing, yeah.
I don't know a single person in the reselling community. Granted, I'm not the one involved with the community, but maybe you can clarify
maybe I didn't clarify. I mean, I did Google around, right? I wanted to know who these micro macro influencers were, and I found random TikTokers who don't seem to have anything to do with fashion that randomly were talking about it, that just had big followings. So I have some feelings, right? So first of all, I'm a little discouraged that Poshmark decided to not partner with the people who are already talking about how much they, make on Poshmark, how much they love the platform. A way that I think could have been a productive way to partner with, micro and macro influencers in the reselling world would be to give them sneak peeks at some things that are coming up, when...
Just give them the exclusive on going over a new feature. Give them a way to be the place everyone goes to for that information. I mean,
you could even do it where if you have these analytics that you have in the back and they're talking about these trends that are coming up, then let some of the resellers know about these trends and have them educate people. So not only are they going to be pulling in those resellers who want to learn about these trends that are doing well, but you're also going to be pulling in people that really are gravitating towards those trends. So you're going to pull in both audiences. As for are they going in the right direction by influencer marketing? I mean, I guess it's the way of the world now. I get it. But yeah, I wish that they did a little bit more with the people who already supported them. Now, I before I do the last one, I did want to mention this because, well, it's creepy. I'm just going to say it's creepy. So the terminology that the CFO used about us, the community that uses Poshmark, was that we were obsessed with Poshmark. We've said again and again that Poshmark does have MLM-like tendencies, cult-like tendencies, and that wording was concerning for me. I'm sure that it was concerning for a lot of people who heard that. So I wanted to clear the air in case anyone was wondering. We are not obsessed with Poshmark. We make our money by selling on Poshmark, and we enjoy doing so. But obsessed is a term that I don't think anybody would want used when it comes to how they make their income, and I felt it was almost degrading what the people on the platform are doing for them. It's almost like separating them and being like, these are our fans, rather than these are the people making us money and who we are.
Well, to play into that, there was a quote from there. They were talking about inflation and how that's affecting price point, and they said, we believe that combined with our asset-light model, where the inventory can revector dynamically, gives us a tremendous flexibility. And what that basically means is we don't actually have to buy any of the clothes and store it. It's up to the people that want to make money and sell it. They have to figure it out, and not our problem.
Yeah, so again, they're separating themselves from the seller and basically looking at us as like these poor people that have to do all the work, and we're up here just like watching and laughing. And it's kind of discouraging because I never got that vibe from Poshmark before. I always kind of felt like they were doing that we're in it together, but I didn't get that vibe from some of the things they said here. So I'm hoping that was just misspeaking, but it did rub me the wrong way, and I just wanted to kind of shed light on that. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to talk about was the trends that they are starting to implement. They have talked about this, many times on this call. It came up over and over and over again. So I think it's important that we take from that trends is something we as resellers are going to have to learn. Whether you want to be a Poshmark seller, whether you just want to be in the reselling space as a whole, trends are becoming what's popular.
So I think that is their way of trying to claw back some of the Depop market that they may have lost by changing their focus a little bit. It's an easy thing to understand that if you have an aesthetic or a style in your own personal closet, and you obviously buy the things for yourself that are the same size, if someone likes that style, they're more likely to offer a bundle offer on multiple items, and that increases their average sale price.
Right. I will say that if you are on Poshmark and you are trying to get yourself into the trends room, there are steps you have to do, and it changes every day. I was going to do a video on this to kind of show you how this works and also show you my success or not success, depending on the day, with that. So if you're interested in that, do let me know in the comments, because your items won't just appear there. There are steps you have to take, and it can be kind of annoying. Anyways, if you are interested in learning about that, let me know. But that is everything we have for the call. We We'll cover these calls. I think that I don't know what schedule they come out on because, again, this was the Q4 call and we're in March, so I don't know the schedule, but
I think they're about a full quarter behind.
that's what it seems like. So we will be able to do that. If you are interested in this type of content, let us know. We can absolutely cover these for you. They are public calls. I'm going to leave the link down below so you can go back, look at the transcript or listen to it, whatever you like to do. But yeah, I mean, let us know your thoughts. I'm curious how you guys feel about this call. Did it make you feel better, worse? Let us know.
Thank you all for watching.
Thank you, guys.